Good evening, folks. My name is Robert Scott Perry. I'm talking to you from Portsmouth, Rhode Island. I talk to you as a candidate for Senate, a write-in candidate, against a gentleman by the name of Jack Reed. Jack Reed has been our senator for a very long time, and I believe that he has slowed over time so that it has gotten to the point where we get absolutely nothing from him that's of any real value. So that it comes to the office itself seems to come to a stop. All it does is occasionally get in the way of the Democratic agenda. And since we have our leader in town today, one of the greatest presidents of all time, if you ask me, maybe the best, President Barack Obama happens to be in town. And since I can't have him here to talk to me directly, I'll talk to President Obama as though I was talking to him. I have some deep questions about actions that you've taken in the area of homeland security. These questions are directly connected to your time as a professor of law. The Fourth Amendment to me is so important. And yet, I have to say, I might find the Fourth Amendment so important, but we have to protect all the amendments. That's why, in many ways, I find myself, after the Snowden incident, more attached to the Constitution as a whole. This is an argument I'd like to have with you directly, rather than have a president have the power to erase the Constitution with the nod of a head. And you know that can happen. I believe you put your name on signing statements that you would not do these unconstitutional things that people like Jack Reed have given you the ability to do while you're president. But it remains dangerous that these things are on the books. I'd like to put the reasons I would question you aside and say once again that I am so proud that you are here. And over the time that I have been alive, I have never seen a president faced with so much against them. People would do anything to go after Barack Obama for no good reason. Mitch McConnell, from the day he got there, said that he would stop the country. He would bring it to a halt to protest Barack Obama. Now, I don't have to get any deeper than this to get to the point where I can say clearly they have turned the entire legislative process, both bodies of legislature, into protest bodies. This in itself becomes unconstitutional. They have weakened the U.S. government. Anyone who can call themselves a Republican, we have a guy named Fung. If he calls himself a Republican, just the things that you can attach to that word, the Tea Party terrorists, like Mr. Freeze, who was caught today in Pennsylvania. That is a Tea Party terrorist. He had a cross misused on his front. If we feel that way, then they must feel the same way in the Middle East. That when they use images that follow their religion to excuse violence, they must get mad. Well, I got mad to see that cross on that guy. And he's shooting at the people that are trying to keep the peace. These are teabag terrorists. The only reason they get guns is because guns are a little bit too available. We should keep track. All I ask for nationally to be a senator, as a senator, is background checks. Nothing further, nothing more, nothing less. Background checks, and of course, an adult, if they own a firearm, should be required in every state to keep track of it, to keep it locked up. That's the responsibility of a gun owner. If the government doesn't do it, the insurance agencies will. If you own a dangerous thing, it's your job to keep track of it. Keep track of your guns, Americans. Beyond that, I wouldn't go any further with the Second Amendment. That doesn't quite follow the Democratic line, but I have to tell the truth. Edward Snowden made me sensitive about the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution and then the Constitution as a whole. So I say to you, We have never had a greater president who was faced with more opportunities to go against the Constitution when conservatives like Jack Reed in his own party face him with things like indefinite detention, which Jack Reed snuck into the 2013 National Defense Authorization Act. It's a clause that says that any president, like George W. Bush, should he decide that someone is a terrorist, like he would have said about every Occupy terrorist, he can put them in jail forever. Never give him a trial, never give him a lawyer, never tell his family where he went. Indefinite detention is real. It's like that ridiculous thing with Buddy Cianci, where nobody talks about how he kidnapped an innocent citizen who happened to be dating his wife from whom he was separated. Buddy Cianci did that, and yet the entire state just ignores the fact that he committed an act of domestic violence, which is such an enormous problem today, and he doesn't even mention his first arrest for using his Providence police escort to kidnap and assault the man who was going to date his soon-to-be ex-wife. But we won't go on about that. The same thing happens in the area of national defense. Okay? This obvious thing, this indefinite detention, it's written down in simple words for everyone to understand, and yet if you bring it up around somebody like Jack Reed, they act like, oh, it doesn't really exist. If you talk to anybody from the Naval War College, they say, oh, what do you mean? Indefinite what? What was that you were saying? We know it's there. We can read. Okay? With FOIA, we can find out everything. You can't hide things from us. We know that you're writing laws that, when they're fully implemented, go against the Constitution. In the Federalist Papers, Mr. Reed, and I'm speaking because I'm hoping that Barack Obama takes a quick listen, in the Federalist Papers they warned against writing laws that in their fruition, as time went by and they came into effect fully, that they would go against basic clauses of the Constitution, basic amendments to the Constitution, clauses within those amendments, etc. So Jack Reed, what you've done, whether you know it or not, is you have taken steps that weaken the Constitution enormously. And what I would talk to you about, Mr. President, is how does today's teaching of the Fourth Amendment change what I'm saying? Are we not, do we not deserve to have warrants served before our private papers, our intimate private spaces are invaded by the government? Please answer this simple for me. I'm a simple American. Say it in a simple way so people can understand. Tell us what you believe. We believed you in 2008, Mr. President. We'll believe you again. I will remain in the same state of mind. My loyalty to the beliefs that you brought to us, Mr. President, will never fade. But time brings much change, and we know different now. We need to engage the whole world. What Edward Snowden showed us is that we need to engage the whole world, and we need your help doing that. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, and thank our First Lady. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you for being here. We needed you, and I believe that Ms. Raimondo will make history, and that Rhode Island will have a great governor. Thank you all. Go out and vote November 4th, this coming Tuesday. Be there or be square.